Hello, and welcome to another edition of Sun Dragon Tips and Tricks. I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in downtown Brevard, North Carolina. It's Monday, so I'm here at my house. And I thought I'd do another one of our life lessons from knitting and crochet. And this lesson, as I am about to go on winter break, is on self-care. What can we learn from knitting and crocheting about self-care, about taking care of yourself, about being good to yourself, right? I think I've probably hinted at this in other life lessons. There's a lot of overlap between these videos. They're not necessarily succinctly by themselves, right? There's always overlap. But a lot of the people who come into my shop come in to knit or crochet because it's something they enjoy or they want to enjoy, or it's something stress relieving, or it is something, it's oftentimes it is self-care in and of itself. It's something they do because it brings them joy, hopefully, right? And that got me thinking a lot about self-care. It's something that I've been trying lately. It's always a work in progress for many of us. And it's a struggle. We are brought up, or we have it kind of thrown at us by society, that we should be going, and doing. And there's a little bit of that in knitting and crocheting too. There's this, I have deadline knitting. I have projects to make for Christmas. I have to keep making things. There's a catch-22 with knitting and crocheting because it's a way to stress relieve, but there's productivity involved. It's probably why I love it so much. It's not really fully just letting go. There's still something at the end that you can say, I made this, right? So is it really fully self-care? I would say there are a lot of benefits. Instead of totally divorcing ourselves from everything in life, we still stay in touch just a little bit. But the reason this came to me, I'm going to meander a little bit here, but the reason this came to me is this past week, I had someone come into the shop who said, ooh, that's really beautiful. I want to make that. I want to buy this kit. And I'll just have to work a couple more shifts. I'll have to take on some extra work so I can afford it. And I talked to her a little bit about that because it kind of struck a nerve with me in a way, because yes, I want my shop to stay afloat. And yes, I would love you to buy all of the expensive, wonderful, lovely yarn. But I also understand if this is something that is supposed to bring you joy and stress relief and all of that, that is actually creating stress at the same time. I was talking with her about, okay, finding the balance. I think I've already done a life lesson on balance, but there was a little bit of that. Is it really bringing you joy? Is it really stress relieving? Is it really for your enjoyment if you have to work extra so you can afford it? It's not necessarily still self-care to craft if you have to stress yourself out by working extra hours so you can afford it. Often when someone comes into the shop, I'll say, what's your budget? What's your price range? And we really strive to have yarns in different price ranges. It's not all going to feel the same. It's not all going to work up the same, but hopefully it'll still be satisfying. We try to find projects and yarn that will fit your budget, because crafting at its essence is about self-care. It is about making sure that you get a return on it that is hopefully good for your soul, and not having to sacrifice either your sanity and your work for your work schedule or your physical health so that you can get some benefits back with your mental health. There's something to be said for taking breaks from things. There's something to be said for striking a balance between, we could say, the expensive and the inexpensive, the cost-effective yarn. We could say the complicated projects and the easy projects. We often tell people, I would have about 2 projects going. one that is more challenging and one that is a little bit more mindless. So that way, you've probably heard me say this in videos before, that way when you want a challenge, when you want to stimulate your brain, you can work on the difficult one. And when your brain starts to melt out your ears, you can switch over and you can work on the more mindless one. And when you get bored of that, you can switch back to the more complicated one. There's a cycle to it. Just like there's a cycle to life. There's knowing when you need to take a break. And you might need to give up on something really hard, or at least put it aside for a little while and come back to it. By the same token, you've got to figure out what works for you. If working on only one project at a time, if that is what brings you joy, don't let someone else talk you into doing 2 or 4 or 10. And if only working on one project at a time drives you batty, don't let someone tell you that that's what you have to do because you need to get it done. Find what makes you happy. Find what brings you joy. I always sign off with, may your crafting be filled with joy and confidence. And some of that joy comes from feeding your soul. And I think there are a lot of life lessons from the crafting universe about what will feed your soul. And sometimes it's by dabbling and trying things out that you figure out what will feed your soul. So practicing self-care, that is my lesson. That is my message today. As I take at least one Monday off, if not 2, I'm about to go on my winter break and go see family. And I won't be filming next week. And there have been times in the past, I'm sure you all have noticed, if you're looking every week to see if I filmed, I don't film every week. And there have been times when I've tried to, and it's probably put me a little bit under. I'm not practicing self-care. I'm putting everyone else ahead of myself. And there are times when that's necessary, and there are times when that's beneficial. But if that is nonstop, if you're always knitting for somebody else and never knitting for yourself, while that may feel good on the surface, and perhaps deep down too, it's okay to take some time for yourself. It's okay to do a project for yourself. It's okay to fit within the boundaries you have right now and not stress yourself out by taking on more. You decide what's good for you. If the reward from working with the ultra premium yarn is worth more to you than not working yourself to the bone, you decide what's going to work for you. I feel like they're interconnected. It's not so much crafting reflecting life. It's something that can be combined at that point. Liz and I have made the decision to go on vacation for a week and a half. The business side of me is going, but you need to have the shop open. You need to be making money and you need to be there. And all these people might need help from you or need yarn from you. And all that could be true. Or I could be blowing things way out of proportion. But we all need a break sometimes. And that could even mean taking a break from knitting and crocheting. Or it could mean taking a break from a really complicated project. Or it could mean going and feeding my cat, who I hear meowing outside. So take into consideration everything in your life. The world will keep turning if you get some rest. And you may be better off for it because you may be able to help the world turn better if you focus on yourself once in a while too, in a very self-care, nurturing kind of way. I'm going to go see what's going on with the cat. As I always say, may your crafting be filled with joy and confidence. Please consider subscribing to our channel. Our numbers are going up and that's really wonderful. Let me know what you'd like to see a video on. And I'll do it if I can. I'll do it if it is something that I feel like I have the ability to explain well. I always take some time and care with that. But thank you for being part of the Sun Dragon community. If you'd like to support the work that you see here, you can also go to patreon.com/sundragon and you can have a monthly subscription with us. really got to go see what's going on with the cat. So everybody have a good couple of weeks, and I will see you in 2022. What we got going on, huh? Will you let me film now? Is that okay?